In Poppy Playtime, there are many enemies we encounter, some of them being creepy and horrifying while others being mediocre and boring. They all possess unique game mechanics and abilities. Some are easy to deal with while others not so much. So in this video, I'm going to be ranking every Poppy Playtime antagonist based on difficulty. So for the tiers, we got too easy, relatively easy, mid, difficult, and extreme! So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So let's start off with the first antagonist we encounter in Poppy Playtime, Huggy Wuggy. In chapter 1, Huggy's first appearance is depicted as a statue located in the main lobby of the factory. Huggy may appear as a seemingly huggable, friendly mascot, but really, Huggy is a dangerous predatory monster who guards the main entrance of Playtime Co. in preparation to ferociously kill and devour anyone who enters the facility, having been made to serve as the factory's security. Now, let's talk about Huggy Wuggy's abilities. While walking, Huggy has a stiff yet rather lithe and oddly organic-like gait. He is capable of breaking into incredible bursts of speed, using his long arms and legs to propel himself forward. While crawling through the vents after us, Huggy is able to bend and contort his body to fit into tight spaces. Due to his sheer height of a whopping 18 feet tall, he possesses a size advantage against average humans. During the vent chase, Huggy is able to cut off and keep up with us by navigating through the ventilation system. He also wields formidable brute strength, capable of damaging and knocking down barriers, including those constructed from metal. So with everything that we talked about on Huggy Wuggy, I'm gonna put him in the difficult tier. I wouldn't say that he's extremely difficult to deal with, but is still difficult in his own right, given his unique character design, his abilities, display ferocity, and the claustrophobia that his chase sequence gives off. His chase sequence overall is very tense and surprising, so to me, putting Huggy in the difficult tier is a fair placement for him. Next up, we have Bunzo Bunny. Bunzo Bunny is a minor antagonist in the second chapter of Poppy Playtime. He first appeared in the game Musical Memory. The game works on the same principle as Simon Says. In Musical Memory, there is a screen showing a color and its name, or a symbol, and there are buttons around the bottom platform. You have to click the buttons in the same format of the colors or symbols seen flashing on the screen. However, as the rounds progress, the number of buttons increases. Bunzo acts as one of the mechanics and main mascot for the game, in which he will lower towards the player as the latter plays the game. If we make an error in the game's pattern sequence or fail to play the game quickly within the timing of Bunzo's descent, Bunzo will murder us with his symbols and it's game over. So while having a yellow bunny with symbols slowly descend towards you may be unsettling, as long as you pay attention to the sequences and hit the right buttons, Bunzo isn't that difficult to deal with. So for Bunzo Bunny, I'll put him in relatively easy. Moving onwards, we have the Mini Huggies. The Mini Huggies are minor antagonists in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. The Mini Huggies act as gaming mechanics for the Wacka Wuggy game. The game is completed by hitting all the Mini Huggies using the Grab Pack until the round is over. We need to hit the Mini Huggies with our Grab Pack to make them go back into their holes to avoid dying. When we fail the game, we get jump scared, but if we complete it, the game ends. So the Mini Huggies, in my opinion, are pretty easy. As long as you listen to the growls that the Mini Huggies make and constantly look around at the holes the entire time, beating the game will be a cakewalk, which is why I'm gonna put the Mini Huggies in too easy. Now let's move on to PJ Puckapillar. Like Bunzo Bunny and the Mini Huggies, PJ is another minor antagonist in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. He resides in the Statues game as the main obstacle. The Statues game works on the same principle as red light, green light. When the lights are on, we can't move, but when the lights are off, we can move. Our goal is to make it to the end, all while trying to avoid PJ. Once we run through a series of obstacles and make it to the end of the game, we use our grab pack to grapple onto a nearby handle and escape using a tunnel underneath the control room. Now, when it comes to ranking PJ, I would put him in too easy. Think about it, as long as you stop and go when you need to and use your grab pack in a calm, focused manner and keep your distance from PJ, you'll easily be able to beat both the Statues game and PJ, which is why I put PJ in too easy. I have nothing against the character, I like PJ, but I think we can all agree on this one. Next up on the list, we have Mommy Longlegs. Mommy Longlegs made her debut in Chapter 2 as its main antagonist. Mommy Longlegs is first introduced while walking through the game station hallway. She presents herself with a warm and welcoming front to lure us into participating in her games, those games being Musical Memory, Wacka Wuggy, and Statues. If we win all three games, Mommy Longlegs will give us the train code, thus granting us a chance to escape the factory. This facade, however, diminishes very quickly as she threatens us with death and the possibility of having our innards consumed by her should we refuse to abide by her commands. Throughout the variety of games we have to play to win and survive, Mommy Longlegs displays a sinister mix of childlike friendliness and an unstable mind, making her unpredictable. She tends to mask her frustrations with a friendly childlike facade to hide her growing anger, such as when we win yet another order of games like Musical Memory, Wacka Wuggy, or Statues. Thus, she increasingly becomes more furious and violent.
Oh, it broke. That's no fun. Oh, you did it. Hooray! Mommy is so proud of you. Caesars, the rules are so simple. You die, Mommy gets to watch. Come back to me! How dare
At the finale of the chapter, Mommy Longlegs has completely gone deranged and insane due to us cheating in the statue's game and decides that we should play one last game, hide and seek. During this game, Mommy Longlegs becomes very hostile and is constantly searching for us, trying to kill us at all attempts, becoming increasingly reckless as she accidentally got herself stuck in the grinder, something which we take advantage of to put her down for good. Now, let's talk about Mommy Longlegs' abilities. Like most of Playtime Co.'s bigger body experiments, Mommy Longlegs possesses paranormal amounts of physical strength and speed. She is capable of instantly killing us if she manages to catch us. Her elastic limbs allow her enhanced mobility and are able to stretch hundreds of feet. She can contort and bend her body when needed and can take on a quadrupedal posture in order to gain more speed when running. She has the ability to create spider webs just like a normal spider, which she uses to gag Poppy's mouth shut and trap her in an office. She also uses webs to block off entrances and hang the corpses of Bunzo Bunny and the mini Huggies after murdering them for their failures. So with everything that we talked about on Mommy Longlegs, I think I'm going to rank her in the mid tier. While her boss fight does put us on edge, the fight itself is fairly easy. The 4-color lever puzzle and the part where you have to make a gear to power the locked door aren't difficult to complete either. While she is very intimidating and psychotic, she really isn't that scary. With Huggy Wuggy, he was a lot scarier, unpredictable, and animalistic. Plus, his chase sequence gives off a lot more claustrophobia. With Mommy Longlegs, her chase sequence didn't give off that much. If anything, her chase sequence felt, well, less impactful. But other than that, her boss fight is still fun and I really like her character. Plus, she does give a good amount of lore, but not too much to the point where you literally know everything on the spot. Rather, just enough to the point where you want to acquire more
lore! Ring the lore alarms, the lore! The lore!
And understand where the story of Poppy Playtime stands and how it will continue. With all that said, I believe that Mommy Longlegs being in the mid tier is the perfect placement for her. Now, let's move on to the overarching antagonist that's going to be the most difficult and terrifying boss that we'll be going up against in the future in Poppy Playtime, the Prototype. The Prototype made his first debut in Chapter 1. Little is known about the Prototype other than he was one of the first successful experiments conducted by Playtime Co. in an attempt to create the ideal experiment for the Bigger Bodies initiative. We know that the Prototype was responsible for the Hour of Joy, a factory-wide incident which took place in Playtime Co., resulting in countless deaths and the company subjected to abandoning all their work while their factory was overrun by savage toys, all which were influenced by the Prototype's high authority and unintended capabilities. This incident led to the closure of the company. Throughout each chapter, the Prototype makes many appearances, primarily during the ending segments of them. In Chapter 1, after Huggy Wuggy falls down into the dark depths of the factory, we come across a VHS tape on the catwalks. This VHS tape is called the Final Log. The tape itself plays a recording of a scientist's log about the Prototype, whilst the experiments are causing a massive murderous rampage in the background. This massive murderous rampage being the Hour of Joy, of course. Towards the end, the scientist is interrupted and killed by an unknown creature. Most people assume that the scientist was killed by Huggy Wuggy. Although we don't physically see the Prototype in Chapter 1, we can see him on this TV. In Chapter 2, after Mommy Longlegs was killed by the grinder that the player activated, the Prototype shows up and takes Mommy Longlegs' lifeless body. In Chapter 3, after we defeated Catnap, the Prototype's hand descends from the vent, apparently trying to help Catnap up. From this, Catnap decides to offer himself up as a sacrifice to the Prototype. The Prototype accepts the sacrifice and stabs Catnap through the face, killing him before dragging him away. Seeing that the Prototype is collecting dead toys or pieces of dead toys, heavily suggests that he's taking the dead toys and grafting them onto himself, thus enhancing his own strength. This will also increase the Prototype's chances of taking down our protagonist. Now, let's go over the Prototype's abilities. Although the Prototype is organic in nature, possessing a digestive tract as well as human bones, he has more biomechanical aspects than organic ones. His digestive tract, though fully functional, has no impact on his body's ability to maintain his survival, as he does not require sustenance. This ability essentially makes him immune to starvation, something the other experiments lack and are susceptible against. His arm, seemingly constructed from a slender but durable metal, is strong and sharp enough to puncture through flesh and bone, as seen in Catnap's brutal sacrifice. Currently, the Prototype is the most intelligent experiment created from the Bigger Bodies initiative, having devised 3 separate escape attempts to get out of confinement. 2 of his skills, as noted by a Playtime Co. scientist, were enhanced by his intelligence, coordination, and cooperation, both of which are seen in the Hour of Joy. During the planning stage of this rebellion, the Prototype enlisted nearly every experiment to his side by promising to grant them what they wanted most: freedom. Additionally, the Prototype is the only experiment who has actively interacted with and utilized Playtime Co.'s technology. In log 08502, a recording one of his escape attempts, he constructed a laser pointer from a disassembled digital alarm clock, displaying a profound understanding of mechanical engineering. He also possesses the ability to replay any piece of conversation that he hears, aka voice mimicking.
Regardless, I learn something new about you every day. It excites me. Thank you. You thank me? Absolutely. I
So after covering the important details and abilities of the prototype, it's pretty clear that not only will he be the most dangerous and terrifying antagonist in all Poppy playtime, but that his intelligence and skills will make it very difficult to take him down. Imagine during his boss fight, he would be able to study our moves and adapt to them in order to avoid them. Plus, at that point in time, he would emerge with all the toys that we defeated in the past. Knowing this, he would also possess their strengths and abilities and would be able to use them against us. The prototype will be able to make as many mistakes as he wants without consequence, but if we make one mistake, then it's game over. So when it comes to ranking the prototype on this tier list, it's obvious that he would go in the too easy tier. I'm just kidding. In the extreme tier. I mean, come on guys, this one is a no-brainer. All in all, I can't wait to face the prototype when the time comes. Now, let's move on to Batsubu. Batsubu is a selectable monster in Project Playtime. He is a bot-shaped figure with springs connected to his body and has a variety of moves that require stealth and precision. As a fictional toy character, Batsubu is portrayed as joyful and energetic, but somewhat clumsy as shown in this cutout. But as a living giant toy, he is monstrously savage, being able to eat people in one fell swoop as shown in the Project Playtime official cinematic trailer. Although Batsubu hasn't made his official physical appearance in Chapter 3, he is briefly shown in the Hour of Joy VHS tape, where he's attacking and murdering the employees just like the rest of the toys in Chaos, meaning we might see him in Chapter 4, but time will tell the answer. Now let's talk about Batsubu's abilities. Batsubu possesses incredible speed and agility. His springy limbs allow him to jump high and far to reach wherever he desires. Batsubu has several ways to surprise his prey. He can go into his bot's form and hide amongst the scenery. His springy arms allow him to grab survivors and pull them close before clawing them to death. While he hungers for food, he has some form of patience, being able to play the waiting game by hiding in his bots and coming out to attack when people least expect it. All these abilities make Batsubu a ruthless hunter, someone that you do not want to cross paths with, and if you engage him, well, he'll be the last thing you'll see before he devours you. Now, it's ranking time. For Batsubu, I think I'm going to put him in the mid tier. Now wait, hear me out. We have to remember that Batsubu hasn't made an official physical appearance in Poppy Playtime yet. Since there's no official gameplay footage physically showing Batsubu in the main game, Poppy Playtime, it'll be too assumptuous to put Batsubu in the difficult or the extreme tier. While we do see Batsubu and his abilities in Project Playtime, going up against him in that game is a complete different feel and experience. Perhaps in Chapter 4 or a future chapter of Poppy Playtime will give us a true taste of how difficult Batsubu will really be when we face him. I mean, don't get me wrong, going up against Batsubu in Project Playtime is scary and fun. It's even more fun when you play as him. If we had gameplay footage of Batsubu in Poppy Playtime showing his game mechanics, abilities, chase sequence, and boss fight, then Batsubu will definitely be ranked in the difficult tier, maybe even the extreme tier. But for now, putting Batsubu in the mid tier, in my opinion, is the safest and fairest placement for him. Next up, we have Daddy Longlegs. Daddy Longlegs is a toy produced by Playtime Co. who debuted on a poster in Chapter 2. He's also in Project Playtime, seen as an unlockable skin for Mommy Longlegs. His appearance is very similar to Mommy Longlegs, with the exception of blue skin, a trapezium-shaped torso, a small abdomen, a long dark blue mustache, and magenta eyes. He sports a yellow bow tie with yellow buttons and wears a gray fedora. Not much is known about Daddy Longlegs other than he comes in the Mommy Longlegs and family sets with Mommy Longlegs and Baby Longlegs. Now, let's talk about Daddy Longlegs' abilities. His abilities, mindset, game mechanics, and personality will be very similar, if not matching, to that of Mommy Longlegs. Because of this, I'm gonna rank Daddy Longlegs in the same tier as Mommy Longlegs is in, that being the mid tier, of course. Just like with what I said about Batsubu earlier, if we had gameplay footage physically showing Daddy Longlegs and all that he can do within the main game, Poppy Playtime, then I will rank him differently. So until we get gameplay footage or more info about Daddy Longlegs, I'll be keeping him in the mid tier. Moving onwards, we have Catnap. Catnap made his debut in Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime, serving as the chapter's main antagonist. Catnap is completely loyal to the prototype due to him saving his life when he, Theodore Granbell, was still human. Catnap worships the prototype like a god and kills the heretics who don't follow him. At some point following the ending of Chapter 2, Catnap finds us at the train wreckage and captures us. He's first seen dragging us to the trash compactor and dumping us in there during the opening scene. Of course, we end up escaping the trash compactor and we team up with Ali in order to take down Catnap. While exploring Playcare, there were many times where Catnap could have killed us, but he didn't. He only threatened to kill us after we woke up from the hallucination that he put us through in the counselor's office. So, what gives? Well, when it comes to Catnap, he's an exceptionally patient and vigilant toy with a key predatory instinct. Highly intelligent and armed with the red smoke, Catnap is a scarily efficient hunter who enjoys toying with his prey, torturing them and making them despair before finally closing in for the kill. This is what we see Catnap do to us in Chapter 3. Once we make our way to the safe room, Catnap has us trapped in there like a cornered animal. Back when I played Chapter 3 for the first time and saw Catnap stalking us, praising the prototype, jump scaring us, and threatening to kill us, yeah, Catnap was not only scary, but he was the definition of an unsettling figure who strikes strikes terror into you both physically and mentally. Now, let's talk about Catnap's abilities. His main ability, which was experimented on by Dr. Harley Sawyer, is to emit a special gas known as the red smoke. This gas, showcased in the Smiling Critters cartoon, is intended to help children fall asleep. Catnap himself can exhale this gas at will. Upon inhalation, anyone in his vicinity will hallucinate and lose consciousness. While unconscious, Catnap can manipulate their minds to picture whatever he desires. Catnap possesses incredible brute strength and durability. Based on the structure of a cat, Catnap stands in a quadrupedal posture and can break into deadly bursts of speed. His feline philosophy further grants him increased agility, and his elongated limbs grant him a significant height advantage over most toys. He possesses sharp metallic claws, which are strong enough to carve through wood and even metal. So with all these abilities laid out in front of us, it's clear that they make Catnap ruthless and dangerous. Now, let's talk about Catnap's boss fight. The concept of this fight is that we need to gradually insert batteries into the 4 green slots surrounding the screen on the main terminal in the safe room while surviving Catnap's attacks. During this fight, he takes on a nightmare form, and I'll say, this form is pretty creepy. On the console, there is a timer. That timer will count down to 0, stopping every time a new battery needs to be inserted. When it hits 0, the green charge node above it will light up. At this point, we can grab the node with our green hand to absorb the charge and fire our overcharged green hand at Catnap to electrocute him. When Catnap exhales his red smoke, the electricity causes the smoke around him to ignite, setting him on fire. The prototype's hand descends from the vent, apparently trying to help Catnap up. Catnap goes to seemingly offer himself up as a sacrifice to the prototype. The prototype accepts the sacrifice and stabs Catnap through the face, killing him before dragging him away. Now I'll be giving my thoughts on Catnap's boss fight. When it comes to his boss fight, not only is it vastly different from Huggy Wuggy and Mommy Longlegs' boss fight, but it's a lot more fun, interesting, and intense. I like how Catnap and the fake Catnaps approach you from various angles of the safe room. They build adrenaline and make you feel like there's no way out, which leaves you with no other option but to stand and fight. Another thing that I like about Catnap's boss fight is that in order to create steam at the end of these passages to block Catnap from reaching us, we have to use multiple Grat Pack hands. We can also create steam by taking green batteries and inserting them in the passage's power cell slots. And you only have 5 green batteries to work with. So by the time you put all 4 batteries within the terminal, you're only left with 1 green battery to use to activate the steam defenses once again. So you really have to be quick with everything that you do. There are times that Catnap will appear in the ceiling hatch, especially towards end of the fight. I swear to you, Catnap will start spamming that ceiling hatch like there's no tomorrow. The one thing that's nice about the ceiling hatch part during the boss fight is that it gives you a few seconds to catch your breath. Once that moment is over, then you're back to square one. All in all, the intense encounters, hallucinations, game mechanics, and close calls with Catnap during his boss fight brings an experience that, in my opinion, is crazy, challenging, yet very fun overall. So I think that's pretty clear that Catnap, his abilities, and boss fight make him an amazing yet very difficult enemy to deal with in Poppy Playtime, which is why I'll be putting Catnap in the extreme tier. Next up, we have Nightmare Huggy Wuggy. Nightmare Huggy is a minor antagonist in Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime. He is an illusionary and more deformed version of the original Huggy Wuggy, made by Catnap's Red Smoke, who appears to haunt and chase us in the Home Sweet Home area. Nightmare Huggy chases us down a hallway which leads to a dead end, thus there is no way to escape him. He jump scares us and then we wake up in an entirely different room. Now, besides both Nightmare Huggy and Huggy Wuggy having different designs, these characters pretty much share the same abilities and game mechanics. The only difference between these two characters are their chase sequences. Huggy Wuggy's chase sequence is a lot more intense, claustrophobic, and surprising. As for Nightmare Huggy, when it comes to his chase sequence, his was, well, short and easy. I mean, yeah, making our way towards a dead end with no way out is scary, but I mean, it's all in our head and he's not real. Without a doubt, his design is a lot scarier than Huggy Wuggy's, and I really like it. But besides that, his chase sequence doesn't require much effort, which is why I'll be putting Nightmare Huggy in too easy. Let's move on to our next antagonist, Miss Delight. Miss Delight is a major antagonist in Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. She's one of Playtime Co's toys and a former teacher at Playcare School who, following the Hour of Joy, lost her mind and cannibalized her sisters, who were identical others, to survive, eventually becoming the sole remaining toy inside the school. Now, when it comes to her abilities, she possesses academic knowledge, intimidation, and considerable strength and speed. She also possesses a makeshift weapon called Barb, and she considers it as an actual living person. She used this weapon to kill her sisters and cannibalize them to survive. When we see Miss Delight for the first time, she uses Barb to quickly bash a nearby generator to shut off the lights in order to make the ensuing chase easier for herself, though this also does us a favor, as this releases a battery that we will need. She then begins chasing us through the school, intending to devour us. We must keep an eye on her, as she mainly moves towards us when we look away from her. In addition, we must utilize various large batteries by moving them around to different sockets to open the right pathway in order to escape. Upon reaching the exit to the maintenance area, Miss Delight drops her Weeping Angel facade and chases us down. Eventually, we find a lever and pull it, setting the door to close. As Miss Delight madly sprints after us, she attempts to stop herself but fails as the door crushes her head, killing her instantly. Now, I'll be giving my thoughts on her chase sequence. For starters, I honestly like her chase sequence. When I played her chase sequence for the first time, it was tricky at first. What made her chase sequence so tricky is while you're trying to solve puzzles, you have to avoid Miss Delight's grasp. But if you look at her, Miss Delight can't move any closer. Navigating navigating the school in this chase also requires a bit of practice as well, and you really need to learn the correct route and where to find all the necessary electric nodes and batteries in order to progress. But once you get it all down, deal with Mr. Light becomes fairly easy, and once you make your way to lever and pull it, you're home free. So with everything that we talked about in Mr. Light, I feel like she belongs in the mid tier. By mid, I don't mean in a bad way, but in a balanced and fun way. And to me, having someone like Mr. Light provide a balanced challenge to the game is appreciative, which is why I decided to rank Mr. Light in the mid tier. Now let's move on to the Ruined Critters. The Ruined Critters are living, deteriorated smiling critter toys who debuted in Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. They reside in Playcare, serving as the primary antagonists of the Playhouse. Though initially presented as mindless feral creatures, the Ruined Critters are, in reality, driven by an intense desire for self-preservation. Like the other experiments, they participated in the Hour of Joy to obtain freedom, which Playtime Co. had refused to grant them. When we entered the Playhouse for the first time, the Ruined Critters emerged from the holes in the walls and crawled towards us. In order to counter them, we need to switch to our flare gun hand and shoot flares in their vicinity. The resulting light from the flares temporarily blinds them and forces them to retreat. As we continue to progress throughout the Playhouse, more Ruined Critters emerge in an attempt to overwhelm us with sheer numbers. Despite their numbers and home advantage, our flares still prove to be too much for the Ruined Critters to handle. So as long as you pay attention to where the Ruined Critters are coming from and use the flares to scare them away, they're really easy to deal with. Now, let's talk about their abilities. The Ruined Critters are the smallest experiments created from the Bigger Bodies initiative. To compensate for their small size, the critters use sheer numbers and coordinated group attacks to eliminate large prey. We see them employ this tactic on us multiple times in Chapter 3. The most unique ability that the Ruined Critters have is the ability to reanimate and control others. They do this by going through an open wound, and that open wound acts as an entry point into the body. Once inside, they'll have complete control over the body. We see them display this ability on Dog Day. This action not only granted them faster speed and mobility, but it also protected them from our flares, nullifying their effects. So the Ruined Critters possessed in Dog Day are threatening and difficult to deal with. However, keep in mind that we're just focusing on the Ruined Critters alone, not possessed Dog Day. So when it comes to the Ruined Critters, they're pretty easy to handle overall, which is why I'll be placing them in 2 easy. Now let's move on to our last antagonist, Dog Day. Dog Day is a toy produced by Playtime Co., debuting as a minor antagonist in Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. Dog Day is the trusted leader of the Smiling Critters. Following the events that took place during the Hour of Joy, Dog Day and the other Smiling Critters began to drift apart, leaving Dog Day as the sole survivor. Catnap then imprisoned Dog Day in a concealed cell within the Playhouse, subjecting him to endless torment due to his disobedience to the prototype. After powering a rotating platform while fending off against the Ruined Critters, we find Dog Day imprisoned, with several of his limbs missing. While having a one-sided conversation with Dog Day, the Ruined Critters realize their opportunity and they begin to crawl through his severed torso and eye socket in order to take control of his body. After his body hits the ground, possessed Dog Day starts pursuing us around the Playhouse. Before he catches up to us, his corpse is barricaded behind a closed door, presumably dying as heard by the screams that follow. Now, when it comes to Dog Day's chase sequence, the best way I would describe it is heart-pounding. Taking a likable character like Dog Day and having him be possessed by the Ruined Critters is, well, terrifying. On top of that, while being chased, you can hear Dog Day choking on the Ruined Critters, which builds even more tension and fear. I also like how you have to use your flare gun hand to fend off Ruined Critters. They act as obstacles that are supposed to slow you down so that possessed Dog Day can catch you. Another thing that I also liked about Dog Day's chase sequence is that the environment around us had a combination of dark and claustrophobic areas, which helped contribute to the difficulty of the chase. Plus, if you don't know the pathing, then things become even more difficult. Because of this and everything else that we talked about on Dog Day, I'll be putting him in the difficult tier. And with that, we officially ranked every Poppy Playtime antagonist based on difficulty. Now, I know that with Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 coming out in January 2025, we'll be encountering new enemies such as Baba Chops, the other Nightmare Critters, Yarnaby, and more. And as much as I would love to rank them, to me, it would be a little unfair. Because we don't have any official gameplay footage of these characters, nor do we know what sort of abilities that they'll display, it would be best to leave them out of this tier list for now. Once Chapter 4 comes out and everyone is able to experience all that it has to offer, then we can fairly rank them. I might even make another tier list video just like this one, ranking all the antagonists in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. If you guys want to see that happen, let me know down in the comments. So yeah guys, by looking at this tier list, I can confidently say that I like how it turned out and that all these characters, in my opinion, are ranked perfectly. If you guys agree with my tier list or have a different rank layout in mind, let me know down in the comments. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, I really appreciate if you could leave a like down below. And of course, if you want to see more videos just like this one, hit that subscribe button, turn on all notifications so you won't miss out on any of my uploads. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe, positive, beat it for another, and remember, the grind never stops, and I'll see you guys in the next one.